Hello everybody, welcome back. Let's have a look at Harmony One then. So just a video just on Harmony One, but obviously we're just going to include a little bit of Bitcoin, just a bit of a precursor as to what's been going on. So Bitcoin's been pumping, it's continuing to pump, and it's trying to make its way above 9,500, which is where this area here is the top that we need to take out. Once that top's been taken out, then it's reasonable to assume that we will make this a continuation move and probably head our way up to 10,000 and beyond quite quickly. But the RSI keeps bumping its head on the top of the roof here. The MACD's had a positive cross, so really it looks like it is kind of overextended at the moment. What I would probably say is, well, the best case scenario is that we hang around here for several days, maybe even a week, bumping our head on the 9,500 or 9,650 area, bumping our head on there, but coming down, zigzagging across, essentially going sideways within a few $100s range, maybe between 9,150, 9,600. I know that's quite a large range, but bumping our way around that area, and that would allow the RSI to reset and sort of consolidate down, giving us enough momentum at that point to make that big push, which is what we want. We don't want to see a big push right now because it'd mean a big pullback as well. We don't want big wicks, we want big candlesticks. Anyway, we're not talking about Bitcoin, we're talking about Harmony One. So that was just a bit of an overview of Bitcoin and what I'd like to see, what I kind of hope to see, and kind of in a way what I'd expect to see, but anything's possible. Harmony One, however, is a difficult one to chart. So we've moved this one down to the 4-hourly chart, where we did have a golden cross back here. So this was back here in when was this? It's actually not that long ago that we've had this golden cross. When was that? What date is it today? Oh, right, okay, so that was about a week ago that happened. Alright, fair enough. So we've had that, but it's not really played out much. It took place, and then we've basically been zigzagging and spiking, really. These long candles, these long wicks that we're having here are quite steep projections from these levels. Looks like they tried to play out a golden cross, and it's failed. It doesn't always mean a golden cross doesn't always mean it'll happen, but when you're dealing with a coin like this, a small cap coin with very low trading volume, there is a lot of people that will try and play that move and has tried to play it here but sold it thereafter. Let's measure that move out here. So we took the golden cross here, and we could say the bottom of the candlestick here, to be generous. So that was only I'll call it a 9% move, to be generous. And now it's petering out a bit. Let's move this up to a daily, and what we see on the daily is that we're about to enter this resistance cloud, which could bring us down, and that coincides in a way with what looks to be taking place here, which is this might not happen, right? Because I mean, if it does happen, obviously it would suggest a bit more of a continuation of the move down, but at the same token, it's not a very extended MACD at all. We've only just come into bullish territory at this point here, so having a negative cross in here is not a good thing, obviously, but it can be avoided if we decide that we're going to pump for whatever reason. We can try and chart this out a little bit to say that there's an upwards trending support ever so slightly. You could argue that we're touched there, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it does look as though there might be an upwards trend of support. Let's just move that up. So that could be a positive thing for us. So I would say that if we break down beneath this upward support trend, then it would be pretty bad. Let's go back to the 4-hourly, because something I noticed on the 4-hourly was the way that we... Was it the 4-hourly? It wasn't. No, sorry. I'm kind of sorry about this. I saw something on one of these charts. It must have been the daily. Yeah, it is the daily. Yeah, it was the daily. Because a lot of the time, for those who don't know, I've got another kid at the moment, so She's only a week old, so I've had a lot less time to trade on my computer. A lot of it's been done over my phone, which is very, very limiting. But what I did notice when looking at this is that we are being supported by the centre of the Bollinger Band too. The Bollinger Band, every time one has hit it on a daily chart, which you can't see because I've got so many moving averages here, but recently every time it comes down to touch the centre of the Bollinger Band, it's actually supported and finds a decent bounce. This last support is basically 500. Now remember a few days ago on my Telegram group where I was talking about this, people were talking about good entry points, and I was thinking maybe you just wait to see if it comes down to 500. That might be a good entry point on this one. I'm not saying that it is a good entry point, because there is like this resistance cloud looming, which could push us down and break us under this descending, so this uptrend of support. We also have the MACD cross, and the RSI hasn't made a lower high, a lower low at the moment, but it looks like it's made some lower highs actually, so it might be going into a bit of a bearish slant, which obviously would be, the problem with this is there's very little to support it after this descending support trend, other than our previous bottom range here, which is, well, pretty low. It's less than half a cent. I mean, it's half a cent at the moment, so another tenth of a cent lower than what we are already, which is that's 20% of its actual value. So we don't want to see that again, do we? We might not necessarily see that. A lot of this is going to be decided over the next 7 days, 10 days or so when we're in this cloud. If the cloud is strong enough to push us down beneath this, and we'll break down. If we break down beneath the centre of the Bollinger Band, we'll break down. Could break down to 458. I'm calling it by these numbers because I can't be bothered talking about all the zeros, in front of it. So, there is a case that we could be bouncing from 500, because that is where we've bounced each time recently, on the centre of the Bollinger Band. This last time being 500, almost 500 flat. So that could be a decent entry point. It's your last chance really to try and catch something before it moves up, if it moves up at all. I would rather, even though I'm holding a little bit of this, just on the off chance that something happens, not that I'm expecting anything to happen, but on the off chance that something special does happen, I am holding some. But if I had to go back in time, I probably wouldn't bother holding it. I'd be more interested to see what happens when it gets into this cloud now. I'm getting a little bit nervous about what's going to happen to my holdings. If it gets in here and it still stays on this upwards trend, that's good, because breaking above this level here, which is quite a long way away, I mean, how much from where we are right now, from there to there, that's a 23% move to get to the top of the resistance cloud there. And again, we are trending beneath most moving averages currently, actually just underneath the 50 EMA, which is a significant moving average for anything to hold above. The way that this chart looks, it looks like we've been rejected from it most of the time. This was off the back of Matic, from what I remember. Then we broke back down. This is where Bitcoin double bottomed, and since then we look as though we have been accumulating. It looks and it appears that way. But this would be a failed accumulation phase if we get a negative cross here. We'd have to wait for it to consolidate, and then hopefully pick back up again, and then maybe reaccumulate. Unfortunately, it does look like it's about to fail, I have to say. But we're in this moment now where over the next couple of days, moving our way into this cloud could be everything. And the way that Bitcoin's moving at the moment, which is pretty strong, it means that sats are being drained out of everything. Alts aren't really moving at the same pace as Bitcoin at the moment. All eyes are on Bitcoin because it's on a pivotal moment in its career, and breaking above 9,500 would drain sats, and breaking down from this level will kill sats and kill alts temporarily. They will fall faster. So we're back into that whole vibe of what happened last year, where Bitcoin became extremely dominant. All the money pours into Bitcoin. So when Bitcoin pumps, sats get drained. When Bitcoin dumps, alts get squashed. So we're kind of about to start feeling that at the moment. Unless, of course, my ultimate theory, the one that I explained at the beginning, kicks in, which is that we bump our head around the 9,500 or 9,600 area, grind out that area for about a week, give this guy enough chance to break down a little bit on the RSI, and then make that a big push. So that could lead to many of these alts, including things like Harmony One, to give it one big last shot of increasing their sats value and having a bit of a pump. Technically, what a lot of people would call an alt season. I don't believe that was going to be a classical alt season. It's more of just a window of opportunity for alts to move. But the one thing that it's got going for it, definitely with one, which is one of the reasons I don't mind holding it, is that its chart looks very different to all the others. It doesn't look necessarily terrible, doesn't look really bad. There could be something about to happen given this accumulation phase. But it's a bit of a diversifier in many ways, because the chart looks different to all the other alts, which all the other alts basically are mimicking Bitcoin. They just have the same a variation of the Bitcoin chart, whereas Harmony One doesn't. Harmony One is doing its own thing, and it actually looks a little bit to me like the way the BitTorrent token looked before it had its recent pump, before everything else actually pumped. So a lot of these charts, they do hold relevance on their own. People say that TA doesn't work on crypto and stuff. I mean, it does definitely work. I mean, you can see when something's about to happen. I could see when BitTorrent token was going to do its pump recently, and I got involved in that pump, and then we sold it. But the issue that you also have is that a chart might look like it wants to pump, like this one. This looked very much like BitTorrent token did, very, very similar, almost identical in the way that it looks before BitTorrent token did its most recent pump. But the market is changed since that time. BitTorrent token was lucky enough to have that accumulation phase with relatively high volume, around between about 5 to 8 million a day trading volume, which is pretty good. And also, it's a much wider traded asset than this. But volume aside, it happened before the alts and Bitcoin pumped, so it had its own little thing going on in this little calm before the storm, and that is one of the reasons why it allowed it to pump, I'm pretty sure. Because if the market decided to pump prior to BitTorrent token pumping, BitTorrent token might not have pumped the way it did, or maybe at all, because the market pumped first. So yes, it would have had a pump, but would it have been a pump the same size? I don't know, because the reason for that is that a lot of other people, a lot of traders will be thinking, where am I going to put my money in? Am I going to put it in the top caps? Going to put it in Bitcoin? Where I'd rather have my money if there's going to be a pump, because I can get it in and out whenever I like. That might have avoided BitTorrent token doing the size pump that it did, and I think that it might be, and this is just a theory, this might be one of the reasons that one is going to suffer now. So we have had an accumulation phase. It doesn't look as though it's going to actually amount to anything, and unfortunately, major alts have pumped. So there'll be a lot of people holding their money in major alts and Bitcoin. There's only so much money going around, unless new money comes into the market, which I don't believe it is right now. There's some, but there's not much. A lot of crypto market is driven by Tether. So people hold on to their Tether, they buy, then they go back into Tether. It's recycled money, and that's all it is. It's just recycled money. It's not new money. It's just it's the same old money, pumping. So, I don't see an awful amount of new money coming into the market, which is what it needs. If you want to see all coins pump in value, you need more money involved in it, and if you're not getting it, you're not going to see it. And the volume for Harmony One is just very, very, very low. Extremely low. So you're not going to see a pump on this one when the market, especially with Bitcoin pumping, you're not going to get that. So anyway, it's a bit of a theoretical opinion there, but judging by the chart, let's do a quick recap. We're on an upwards support trend, which is good. We're about to head into a dark fat cloud of resistance, which is bad. We look like we're going to have a negative cross on the RSI, which is on the MACD, which is bad. We've got ever so slightly lower highs on the RSI, which is not great either. We want to see more momentum on this one. It's opposite to what we want to see on Bitcoin. We want to see the opposite happen with this. We want to see higher highs taking place on the RSI, and we've got very low volume. So personally, we might be grinding out this area, and if we can stay above the supported trend, or at least the center of the Bollinger Band, that would be great. So keep your eye on the Bollinger Band for Harmony One on the daily chart. If we break down beneath that, then it could be in for sad times. If we get to the bottom of the Bollinger Band and find a support, okay, that might be an opportunity for you to buy some, but bear in mind, volume's low and we might be going into a bit of a downtrend. Anyway, I hope that's okay for you guys. I wanted to clear that one up because there's a lot of people in my Telegram chat that sort of invested in this one and probably feeling a little bit afraid or maybe a bit annoyed because everything else seems to be pumping. Look, it's not the end of the world. This coin, I'm sure, is going to do okay, and it could do better than all the others. It's just at the moment it's not showing us any signs that it's going to do that. It just looks very mediocre and just not very ripe. This negative cross hasn't happened yet, so that's a positive. It looks like it wants to happen over the next few days, which is a shame, but it hasn't actually happened yet. So I'm trying to forecast something on the events that look like they might happen, not on any signal that has actually taken place. So you just got to bear all that in mind. I'm trying to predict what's going to happen or forecast what is likely to happen. If we carry on in the same way that we are right now, it doesn't mean it's actually going to happen. I'm just I've tried to look at things a few days or a week or more in advance, and at the moment the way that things are going at its current rate would suggest that it is going to do more downwards trend than up. That's all I'm saying. But no signals have taken place yet. I'm anticipating signals to take place, but they actually haven't happened yet. So just bear that in mind. I'm not super bearish on this. It just looks like certain things might come together shortly to suggest it will go down rather than up. That's all I'm saying. This could turn around the second I turn my computer off. Because like I say, the signals haven't actually kicked in. It's not actually happened yet. But again, looking a little bit into the future, judging from what I can see right now, at its current rate, means that it is more likely to go a little bit further down, even if it just went down to the bottom of the Bollinger Band, so 460. It could just go as low as that. We just don't know. But no signals actually taking place. We do have an upward support trend, so let's hold on to the positives if you're holding it and unwilling to sell. I'm not a financial advisor, so I'm not advising you buy or sell this. I'm just letting you know what I see coming, and let's just bear all of those things in mind. But again, no signal has actually taken place yet. We'll give it a few more days to see what happens then. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you have a nice evening, and take it easy.